So let's talk about setting the suspension on a TM1210 trail mower. And let's keep in mind some of the reasons why we would do that. Number one, we know that oftentimes our field conditions dictate the kind of suspension that we want on our cutter. And we're fortunate with the TM1210 that we have a hydraulically charged suspension that allows us to adjust it to meet those field conditions. If we're in a really rough field that's uneven, we don't want our cutter out there jumping up and down, creating streak spots. On the other hand, if it's a nice even field, we don't want our cutter out there dragging along the field either, so we can get more flotation in that regard as well. Another factor to consider might be that we've changed our tractor. So now we've got a different tractor pulling the cutter. It might be that we need to reset the hydraulic suspension for that reason as well. So to reset the suspension on the TM1210 or TM14 trail mower, you'll want to start by swinging the tongue out to the normal operating position and have the cutter bars up. At that point, you turn the black valve on the cutter fully counterclockwise to open. Then, using the remote that controls the cutter bar lower and raise in the tractor, you'll want to move that position to raise the cutter bar. You'll see that the pressure drops to 0 and the cutter bars will actually go to the ground. The next step is to move that remote to the lower cutter bar position. And at that point, the cutter bars may not raise, but the pressure on the gauge will increase. You hold that remote until the pressure stops increasing, then move it back to the neutral position. At that point, you'll close the black valve on the cutter, turning it clockwise to fully close it. On the TM1210, the pressure should be around 900 psi. On the TM1410, it should be around 1100 psi. The next step then would be to operate the cutter and make sure your pressure is maintained.